in terms of I guess the industry overall, obviously, for people that are lucky enough to work within the sporting organizations or sporting clubs, that's, I assume, for most people in your industry, the number one priority. But for people that are unable to crack it, whether it's through a fault of their own or limited opportunities, what are some other areas that, if you had to transition out of the high performance environment, is there enough scope to get a job within like a sport tech company or a sports science startup? Are there enough of those around, or are they pretty limited and super competitive as well?
I really don't know. That's a good question. I've never really looked, so it's sort of hard to say. I think a lot of people that sort of follow paths like mine, as in sports science as well as a bit of research, often look at academia as their bit of a fallback.
Right.
Which, if something was to happen to me at my role, I'd probably look to do some teaching in the short term while I look for other roles in sport.
Right.
But it's an interesting thought. I'd definitely be open to sort of checking out any sports science startups or sports tech startups, because I find them interesting. But yeah, I've got very little knowledge of how prevalent they are.
Yeah, and funnily enough, like I'm on the flip side, and that's why I asked the question. Like for me, obviously, I've spoken to a few people that are doing their PhDs and are completely just didn't think about how that could be the obvious second option. So I guess if we're saying as an option, there's the sporting clubs and organizations, there's the universities and potential teaching options there, and then I guess if the economy can sort of stabilize and we can get back on track, there's quite a few Australian companies that are doing really well in that sort of sports science and sport tech space. But I think it's just a case of it's obviously not going to happen overnight. But I think in the next sort of like 3 to 5 years, if we can keep growing in that space, that can be like a legitimate sort of second or third option for a lot of people. And then if you've got those data skills, that would only help in terms of opening up those doors.
I'll have to keep my finger on the pulse.
No, awesome. Okay. And look, the last one, I love asking this question. So I guess to change it up a little bit, you've got the skills that you're learning through your PhD, you've got experience in rugby league and rugby union, you've got experience working with players firsthand, you've got and the data side as well, right? You've got a pretty broad skill set. It's almost like I'm selling you an interview at the moment, but you've got a pretty broad skill set. You've got some good experience with it in a broad range of sporting organizations and clubs. But if you had to put your skills to a task, using your skill set, and you had to help out a specific team or a specific player, can you tell us an example of what you'd love to work on and why?
Yep. This was a hard one to answer because I really didn't know where to start with this. But I'm a fan of European football. I spent a bit of time in Europe and sort of started following it while I was over there. And I was living in France for a while and really enjoyed that. So when I look at a team like Paris Saint-Germain in the French league and the Champions League and things, I know that a lot of their performance staff are really cutting edge kind of guys, always looking to innovate and improve the way that high performance sport and high performance science is delivered. I really admire what they do there, and I would really love to work in a team like that can try and change the culture of high performance science in soccer, because it's sort of known around the world amongst the sports science and high performance sport circles that there's a bit of a culture of, I don't know what you'd call it, neglect, or just that they'll dismiss a lot of cutting edge science around sports performance just because of tradition. And it'd be good to be a part of the changing of the guard, I suppose, into showing them the value of science in high performance sport. And it looks like the guys that are there are doing a really good job, but to be able to contribute to that would be pretty cool.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to check out more of our content, go to sporttechdaily.com or follow us on social media across Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram.